This episode of the Closeout Bodyboarding Podcast is proudly presented to you by Bodyboarding Victoria and limited edition fins. Shane, I've always wanted to know, what's the big difference between the original limited edition fins and the new Psylocke fins?
Benny, the Psylocke fins are bigger and wider than the original LE foot pockets. So basically when you try them on, they'll actually be a size up. Psylocke's fit really well in half sizes to the original fins. So I used to not be able to fit into the larges in the original LE fins, but I fit perfectly into the Psylocke large. So I just recommend everyone, if you weren't comfortable in the original LEs, go in and try on a new Psylocke's.
Awesome. Thanks, Shane. Back to you in the studio.
Welcome to the Closeout Bodyboarding Podcast, an audio experience where three good mates discuss their love for bodyboarding. We'll also chat about some current topics and what we're looking forward to in the future with the sport that we're all so passionate about. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Watson, and joining me are two of my great mates, Shane Britton and Benny Oborne.
Woohoo! Let's bring the energy to this one.
Hello, Shane. Hello, Chris.
So our first two potties, our episodes focused on the background stories of both Shane and myself. In this episode, we're going to peel back the layers that make up the DNA of Benny Oborne. So Benny is current event and operations manager of the Australian Bodyboard Association, a Bodyboarding Victoria committee member, vice president, and genius on the microphone. Previously,
just good with my hands.
Previously a Bodyboarders Surf Co, Coolangatta store manager and hospitality expert. Currently managing seaside cottages in Joanna. So, Benny, tell us a bit about yourself.
Benny, how old are you now? Right now. Hit me.
Mate.
What are you? No, what's your age right now?
I'm 39.
Oh, it's almost over, Benny. It's coming at you like a freight train. The tunnel. You can see the light coming and it's just coming right at you.
Mate, they say life gets better after 40, so...
And they were lying. It is wrong. It's all over, son.
Mate, I've got a lot of good things to look forward to, mate.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, apparently. Old age.
I hear you get like 2 free bus rides when you become a pensioner.
You get half-price movie tickets.
Yeah, perfect. Movies. Just what I'm into.
So, you are currently living down in the region of the Great Ocean Road?
Yeah, that's right, mate. I made the move back to Victoria about 6.5 years ago now, I think. My wife and I, kind of got drawn back here for a job opportunity. So we're living in Johanna.
Yep.
For those that don't know where that is, it's about halfway between Apollo Bay and Port Campbell on the Great Ocean Road. Obviously smack bang in the middle of the Great Otway National Park.
Beautiful area.
Oh, mate, it's magical. And obviously I spent a lot of time down there as a kid growing up. I grew up in a small country town about an hour kind of inland, place called Colac. So I kind of had that part of the world as my my playground, which was pretty epic.
Yep.
But yeah, my wife and I work essentially as a management couple in kind of tourism and hospitality. We've been doing that for, I think 8 years now.
Yep.
Currently, working for a family and managing a big holiday accommodation property down there.
Managing 2 kids.
Yeah, 2 beautiful kids. Our daughter Luna, she's 4.5. She's just started kindergarten this year. And
Where did Luna's name come from?
Oh, that's an easy one. I guess I don't want to call it my favourite wave because it's definitely not my favourite wave, but I find it to be one of the most beautiful waves.
It's awe-inspiring.
It is, which is Luna's, which is obviously down on the south coast of southwest coast.
After the Nomad chopper flew over the top of it, you just fell in love.
Yeah, I mean, it just made sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're the real father, so.
Oh wow.
Mate, look, Luna's obviously is in a part of the national park called Wreck Beach. Look, it's no secret. And obviously I spend a lot of time there in my line of work. So for me, it was kind of a bit of a place of, I guess, mental release. Again, working in tourism and hospitality is full on.
Yep.
You don't get to rest a lot. So when you do get time to rest, you really need to remove yourself from that working environment. So for me, that environment was actually down at Luna's. I would spend a lot of time just sitting by myself on a cliff top, whether it be from the main. That sounds really bad, doesn't it?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, whether it be at kind of the main lookout point or there's another kind of viewpoint from the Gables, which is on the eastern side. Just doing a bit of meditating and just kind of listening to the ocean, feeling kind of that energy that comes through the headlands and the cliff there. Like when it's big, like that whole place just rumbles.
And then the Nomad chopper flies over.
How's the Serenity?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that obviously happens a lot more these days than it did. Richard is a really good friend of mine who owns and manages the 12 Apostles helicopters business down there. So God knows how many flights they're doing along that part of the coastline every day. It does break up the Serenity a bit, but I also understand why he runs his business.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd spent a lot of time there. My wife spent a lot of time there. When Luna was born, I think for the first 2 days, we actually didn't even have a name. It was just, like baby number one. We were just torn, but then, Luna just got thrown into the mix and it made sense.
Yeah.
And her personality kind of matches that wave. She is wild and
a lunatic.
Yeah, and unpredictable. But mate, she's amazing. She's my best friend, and I love it a bit.
And you got little Frankie as well.
Yeah, little Frankie, Francesco. He's got many versions of his name. That was probably my wife's influence more than mine with that one. My wife is a Catholic.
Yep.
And essentially it kind of came from Pope Francis.
Huh.
Yeah. So, but in saying that, the only really input that I had there was one of our really close friends from our time living in the Cook Islands. There's a guy called Franco.
Yep.
And he was when my wife and I were living there. And you found it a little bit hard in the beginning to get settled and kind of find friends, especially in the church.
Yep.
And then Franco, who is a brother of one of my really good friends, Brendo, he was pretty involved in the church and kind of took Anya under her wing. So, he was a big part of our life and time spent in the Cooks.
Yeah, nice. So you kind of grew up in that region anyway. You grew up in Colac. Yep. How was it growing up in a small country town?
Mate, it was amazing. I know a lot of people look back on that and reflect and go, it's not a great place to live. Mate, as a kid, I had nothing bad to say about the place. I had everything I needed.
Yep.
I come from a really great family, a really big family, like expanded family. Like I've got mum and dad and then my brother, but then my dad's one of 8. So lots of uncles, aunties, cousins. And, my dad and mum's family both grew up on farms. So we spent a lot of time on farms together. And then, also on top of that, we're really lucky to have some incredible holiday houses that both of my grandparents kind of had. One was down in Point Lonsdale, which is on the other side of the bay from where you guys are.
Yep.
And, Nana and Pa, the late Nana and Pa, then they sold that and bought a place, funnily enough, in Kira, like on the beachfront.
Oh, the dream.
Yeah, tough, right? So went from spending summers in Point Lonsdale to Easters in Kira. So not a bad time of year to be on the Goldie.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess going back to Colac, it's one of those kind of small country Victorian towns. I mean,
it's worth noting during the COVID pandemic in Melbourne with all the lockdowns and so forth, Colac really became quite infamous. For a major COVID outbreak down there, and
a little spreading ceremony.
I believe that all happened to a swingers party.
Look, I wasn't.
How are your parents?
Unfortunately, I wasn't there, mate. I was locked down in Johanna. I organised the event, but
didn't get an invite.
Just didn't attend. I assume there's obviously a fair bit of truth to that story because it made quite a lot of media outlets, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, Colac's it's a great little country town. I mean, nothing's changed in 30 years. The same shops are still there. The same people run them.
Yep.
Still got the same names on the front. It's one of those kind of hardcore sports towns. Like in winter, it's footy.
Speaking of sport and footy, you once rang me and said, "Oh, Shane, I'm coming." You were down from the Gold Coast when you were living up in the Goldie.
Yeah,
and said, "Shane, I'm coming down." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, you're home?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I've just got a mate dropping me off. I'll be there shortly." And Benny rocks up in the drive and gets out of the car. He's got a big smile on his face, and out pops his mate. It's Luke Hodge, premiership captain of the Hawthorn Footy Club, who I happen to barrack for. So
mate, you can probably share more stats about Hodge.
No, you know a lot more. How would you bet me?
4-time premiership player, dual Norm Smith medalist. Yeah, mate. Oh, mate, look, Hodgie's just an all-round great guy. Again, everyone knew everyone in Colac growing up. I played a lot of cricket more so than footy with Luke. And Luke's...
couldn't keep up, even at that age, mate?
Mate, he was ahead of me before I even started. And, mate, pretty handy cricketer too, but I guess most of those kind of elite athletes are just good at whatever they do.
And, both sports just, killing it.
I think also when you were saying about Colac being a pretty strong sporting town, you've got some heritage there in your old man and cricket. And
To read a quote, actually, from the Colac Herald.
Ooh.
"A love of the game, giving back to the sporting community, and a bond with mates are what have kept Rob Oborne involved with cricket for more than 50 years.
Yeah, that's...
So your father is Rob Scruffy Oborne.
Yep, that's correct.
Hit us. How's he, with his involvement with cricket and that down there?
I wouldn't be surprised if he was playing cricket while I was born.
Wasn't it the delivery?
Yeah.
He caught in slips.
Probably had a pair of wicket-keeping gloves on. Look, obviously Dad's been involved in cricket for over 50 years and recently been recognised for all of his great work by Cricket Victoria, by Southwest Cricket. His name kind of ricochets across a whole bunch of kind of cricket networks here in Australia and overseas in England.
Yep.
So Mum and Dad spent a bit of time living in England before my brother and I were born. They were kind of living over in Kent.
Yep.
Kind of in and around Dover. Dad was playing for a club over there, St Lawrence and Highland Court, which I was really lucky to go and play a game with last year, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
In a testimonial, well, not a testimonial, like a memorial match that he was supposed to be at. I showed up late.
Because you went on the trip over to Europe.
Yeah. But I showed up about halfway through the game, about 6 pints deep. And,
so you did a proper preparation.
Yeah, English preparation. And like, we're short. You want to bat? I was like, yeah, why not? But then, he was lucky. He actually played some county cricket, and I think it was for Canterbury when he was over there, which was pretty cool. But he's just done so much back here in Australia, in particular in the Southwest region. He definitely had more than one opportunity to probably pick our family up and move to Melbourne and work for Cricket Victoria and Cricket Australia. But
so what stopped him doing that? Like, obviously, he seemed like, I've met him a couple of times and he seems fairly connected in that world. What do you think sort of held him back from doing that?
Mate, he's just so tied into the grassroots side of things.
And tied into Colac.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there is a guy that they're going to build a statue of in Colac, it'll be him.
Yeah.
Not a Benny Oborne one?
No. No. Might not even be an obituary for him, Colac, mate. But even now, like, after every cricket season, he keeps saying, yeah, I'm done. I'm exhausted. It's time to let it go. But then fast forward 6 months, pre-season comes along and he's back getting everything ready.
Yeah. Because once you have that break over,
you
go,
yep.
Oh, yeah, no, well, I'm letting down mates if I don't.
But, I mean, he was an incredibly gifted cricketer.
Yep.
Like batsman, wicket keeper, to be honest, probably even across both parts. And in saying that, my brother was really good at cricket as well, and I tried to follow in those footsteps. didn't even get close.
Yep.
But in saying that, it probably created some of my fondest memories as a kid growing up. Obviously playing junior cricket with my brother, and then senior cricket with my brother, and then playing senior cricket with my dad.
Yep.
Yeah, incredible. My dad was by far my harshest critic. And I mean, he was the same with my brother. He's the same with pretty much anyone that he coaches.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at that in hindsight, it does bring the best out on you. And that was just the way he did it. I was really lucky to play in, I think, 3 premierships with my dad.
Yep.
Which was pretty cool. And I think I played in 2 junior ones with my brother.
Yep.
And I mean, they're still both pretty heavily involved in cricket. My brother's coaching now down at Little River,
right,
which is somewhere between Geelong and Melbourne.
Yep.
Couldn't tell you where. But yeah, I'm really hoping Dad does kind of start taking a bit of a break. Dad, if you're listening, mate, just enjoy the golden years, buddy.
Yeah, so obviously he had his testimonial not long ago.
Yeah.
And you gave a speech and so forth there.
Yeah, so that was the Closeout Cricket Club testimonial, again, for 50 years service to the club. I was asked, on behalf of the family to make a speech. And, I put probably too much energy into it. I really did. And
overthought it?
Oh, yeah.
Went too early?
Yeah, overthought it and just... It could have been short and sweet, but I probably wrote a novel. Yeah. And
it's hard to get through a novel when you're talking about someone...
someone that you love and someone that's so close to you.
Yeah.
Very
And it's
emotional.
weird because, and I said this in another podcast I was on recently, he's sitting next to me.
Yep.
But in that moment, I almost felt like I was at his funeral.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to explain how much
he means to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, long story short, I got through about 2 minutes and I was I actually couldn't finish. I felt like I had nothing left in my lungs. I couldn't talk. It was almost had to get ushered off the stage.
Yeah.
In that moment, I was pretty embarrassed, but yeah, there was a lot of supportive people in that room at that moment that said,
but it shows your love for your dad, mate. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, bringing back to bodyboarding though, and seeing what your dad's done, and you've done a fair bit in bodyboarding now in administration and so forth as well. Do you feel like, you're stepping into, sort of following your dad, not in the same sport, but certainly is it something you've sort of strived for?
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that came from that, because a lot of people always ask, why do you do what you do with bodyboarding? Is it because you're, some people are pretty brutal. Well, you're not good enough to compete. And I was like, well, that's not really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I love bodyboarding. I do enjoy competing. I don't really have the time for it anymore, but my mentality going into competing was never to win.
Yeah.
I think I got lucky. I might have taken out a men's
Yeah,
division.
I find that now when we compete with the Bodyboard Victoria as well.
But I'm out in the water in a rash vest because it's it's that opportunity to A, go get waves, but B, to get waves with only a few people.
Yeah.
And to encourage each other. I mean, we're not playing for sheep stations here.
Nearly every time you're paddling out with 3 mates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why not?
Well, yeah, my best result in competitive bodyboarding, and honestly, I think it was almost by default, was I think I came I took out the men's division at GCBC in 2012 or something, right? And why I say default is because GCBC were running 10 events a year, which is a pretty heavy calendar for a club.
Yeah.
Because I was the secretary and treasurer of the club, of course I was at every event. So even if I was getting knocked first round, I was getting points.
Yeah.
So one of my really good mates, Richie Chileppi, which I think he's just had some photos you guys put up of Novi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from Salty Sceneries.
Yep.
Really good mate of mine. And he was kind of like my competitive buddy. Same deal. We were never, ever trying to beat each other, but it was just really good to have a good mate out in the water with you, just pushing you.
Yeah.
So it was funny. I think in the last event, he had to just show up and he would have won. And he had a late night at work and couldn't get there. So I was like, yes.
Yeah. So to go back from living in Colac.
Yep.
You made your way up to the Gold Coast?
Yes, in 20...
So what led to doing that at the time? Was it work or was it, were you striving for something else or...
Oh, look, a few contributing factors. First and foremost, graduated school in 2001, and you're 18, can't wait to get out of town.
Yep.
I think my final exam was on a Wednesday. I started a job in Geelong on the Thursday.
It's a standard country story.
Yeah, out of there. Thought Geelong was far enough away to be happy.
Yep.
Definitely isn't.
What were you doing in Geelong?
Mate, just working for a big fast food chain at the time, mate.
Really?
Yeah, so that and then working at a surf shop. So I had like 2 jobs.
Yeah. What surf shop?
It was called Plunge, I think. Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. Kind of a little independent thing.
Yeah. So you started your surf, industry sort of foray there?
Well, my passion was probably similar to you. Like I did work experience at a surf shop in Colac when I was like 16. Out of that, Davina, who owned the surf shop, offered me a traineeship. So essentially leave school and work at a surf shop. And I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And my parents were like, no, got to finish school.
Yeah.
I resented them a lot for that in that moment. But but look, I think I spent 18 months in Geelong and I was like, no, not happening. Obviously, like I said, we had this place up on the Gold Coast, so I knew the Gold Coast pretty well. So I kind of just threw caution to the wind. I didn't really have a job to go to. I just packed up my car.
Did you have a friend or someone?
Yeah, I had a girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And we just did it together.
Yep.
So we went up for like 12 months. She got super, super homesick and, I tried to do the right thing in that time and come back with her. I think I lasted a month.
Yeah.
And
I'm back.
Yeah. Well, so I just called it quits on that relationship and, went back up and, spent 13 incredible years up on the Goldie.
The dream.
Was a dream.
All right. So you land on the Goldie.
Yep.
Only knew your girlfriend when you went up, I'm assuming. Did you know other people?
Nope. No, nobody.
So how did you start out there?
In a bodyboarding sense, mate, I was living in Currumbin at the time, so that was kind of my local.
Yep.
In saying that, obviously would venture down to D-Bar and paddle out and try and get a feel for the place. And it's pretty daunting when you don't know anyone on the Gold Coast and paddling out at a place like D-Bar. Like it's a hunting ground.
Yeah.
Yep. So from there, pretty much got a job working at a big surf chain up there called City Beach.
Yep.
Worked my way up the ranks through the management scale. And then I was kind of like you all, so spending a lot of time in a bodyboard shop up there, kind of just asking questions, reading magazines.
Being annoying.
Yeah. And
What's this? What's this do?
There were 3 shops on the time. At the time in the Goldie, one was called Launchpad. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. They were up in Broadbeach.
Well, no, they were. When I was there, they were in a basement level in Surfers Paradise.
Yeah, isn't it? Oh, is that different?
Clive?
Yeah, Clive.
Yeah, he must have moved.
Yeah, he did.
He
He went overseas. He bought
to Mexico.
Yeah, he bought a property and was going to do surf camps or
I
something.
think he's still there.
Yeah, right.
There was also Eppo's up in the old Burley Theatre Arcade.
Yep.
Eppo and Apsy were there.
Yeah, Apsy was there, yeah.
Never really got a good vibe from those guys, unfortunately, so I didn't really hang out.
Yeah.
Never felt welcome walking into that store, to be honest. But then, Danny Bycroft had Inverted on the Gold Coast Highway, and Danny, is still one of my closest mates. So spent a lot of time there, and then Danny got me kind of just helping out random days here and there. At
So
Inverted.
did Danny get you involved with the club there? Because he had the club running out of there.
No.
That was the Burley Bodyboard Club.
Well, there was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like foreign turf, that end of the coast.
Yeah.
So I was doing some stuff with Danny. I remember helped him kind of get some product for, I think it was a tension premiere that we held at the Burley High School one night. That was pretty nuts. But then, from there, that was around the time that Mick and Karita were kind of sniffing around to open up a shop on the Goldie, and a guy that was working at Inverted as well, Luke Della, he actually told me about it. He's like, yeah, man, like there's this new bodyboard shop. And I actually didn't know a lot about BSC at the time because, again, I was still relatively naive.
Yep.
And Lukey's like, yeah, I'm going to go for this, store manager's job at Cooley. Don't tell Danny. And no, I didn't tell Danny, but I was like, well, fuck, I'm going to apply for this. So, funnily enough, both Luke and I got interviewed for the job. I got the manager's job. Luke got just a, store job. I don't think he liked me being his boss. He left pretty quick. But things kind of snowballed really quickly in that moment.
As things do with Mick and Karina.
Yeah, far out.
Lots of energy.
Fast paced.
Yeah.
No rest for the wicked. And yeah, look, I guess we sat down and talked about what we wanted to achieve with establishing a business on the Goldie, in particular at that end of the Goldie.
Yep.
For those that don't really understand how the Goldie, you've got kind of the south, the north, and in between. So Mick and Karina's plan were kind of just to take over that southern end, because at that time there was no one in that market or in that space. So yeah, had a really good shop front. I guess I was doing a lot of visual merchandising with City Beach, so we were trying to be really, really creative with our storefronts. Like a lot of inflatable palm trees, literally running down to the beach and filling up buckets of sand. So having real beach sand in the front. It was cool. But from there it was just about, okay, let's try and really build up this group of people that can make this business worthwhile. So that obviously made a sense to then get involved with the local bodyboard club down there, which was called Bodyboarders Surf Co. Richard Gray was kind of run that. Richard was one of those stalwarts as well. Had been doing it for 10 years, did it because his kids were into it and they'd kind of almost grown out of it, but he just kept doing it because there was no one else to do it. You know what it's like. But I think he was pretty damn keen to just go take it.
I think everyone, I'm sure there'll be some point at Watto's happy to do that as well. And, that's part of the issue with most small sporting clubs that, one or two or three people shoulder the whole administration and running of the club, and not a lot of support, and you just burn out.
You get a lot of people, and they're like, we need to do this, we need to do that, and we need to do this, and you sit there and you're like, is it worth it anymore?
I've got a list for you, Chris.
Well, if you've got actions for that, you're welcome to do it.
I'll put it in the Trello account. And again, Mick and Karina, as you know, they don't do anything
by halves.
No, it's 2 times, if that.
Well, Mick had grown up, and he started the Headlanders Bodyboard Club originally. Way back. And the Sydney Bodyboard Club, he was obviously heavily involved in down there. So, it made sense that he was going to get involved with
Of course. Well. So, and again, the Gold Coast.
And at the time, you as an employee were a resource. I mean, obviously you're becoming friends in that then.
Yeah, of course.
Future. But, there was resources to be used, at that point as well.
Yeah. And I was more than happy to. For me, it was just wow, it was actually just a better opportunity for me to try and, weasel my way into more waves at D-Bar.
Get a higher profile.
Exactly.
Do you know who I am? I'm Benny Oborne.
Don't forget where you buy your boards, boys.
I'm the secretary of the club,
So look, we just put together, I guess, a business model for what we wanted with GCB, and just grew it over, I'd say, probably 5 years that we just went non-stop. And we kind of got to that point where we're almost too big as well, similar to, I guess, what the membership base is now with Bodyboarding Vic. And look, I'd have to chat to Mick, but I think we're at 130 members one year. Obviously, you don't get those 130 showing up every month.
And they were big club days.
Man.
Every time I went up there, there was a club. It was a club weekend, and we'd go down and hang out all day, and they just go forever.
Yeah, well, they're in the dark. Yeah. And the days were generally pretty long on the Goldies. So you're there at 5 o'clock in the morning, which, it makes sense if it's a amateur or a pro amateur event, but this is a club comp. Yeah. So, we're setting up 6 tents. We've got full catering setups. I remember some of our kind of premier club events, we had water feature slides and stuff for kids. Big.
Chris, just put that on your list.
Yeah, I'll make sure I've got that water feature.
Slide.
But we just wanted to be seen as a professional club.
Yeah.
And by doing that as well, we promoted ourselves really good in the community, which meant we got a lot of community support. So I guess from a fiscal perspective, we had a lot of money to put back into projects to keep building. That club, our infrastructure asset list was huge, which was great because that kind of stuff then helped later on when we started supporting some of those premier events with the ABA as well. It meant, we weren't traveling around the country with all this infrastructure, we could rely heavily on the clubs that we'd helped set up to have that stuff. But mate, it was amazing, and like to have like some of the guys that we developed through GCBC was epic, and some of those guys are still ripping with a good profile today, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how did that sort of transition into you in the Australian Bodyboard Association?
Guess you could say I got headhunted.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess through GCBC, we then kind of branched out and got pretty involved with, at the time it was called QAB, or Queensland Association of Bodyboarding. Same deal. It was kind of this model that.
So was that was run separately to Surfing Queensland?
Yeah. There was zero involvement with Surfing Queensland at that point.
So that was an association that basically oversaw the clubs.
Yep.
And we're running state titles.
State titles, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there was absolutely no affiliation with QAB and Surfing Queensland at that time.
So who was running QAB? Is that like Lloyd Llewellyn and those guys, or was that
Well, I think
an older step above them? Or
well, there was kind of just like a delegate from each club, like Frank McDonald from Headlanders. It was kind of, I think this was just before Ben and Carmen Wells kind of got involved up on the sunny coast. But yeah, it just didn't make sense. It wasn't aligning with what all the other clubs were doing. So same deal. I think we just pitched an idea to, pardon me, rebrand, rename. Then it became Bodyboarding Queensland, which it still is today. But yeah, part of that process was to try and create a partnership with Surfing Queensland, because obviously Surfing Queensland is a subsidy of Surfing Australia, which run the Nationals, which is a pretty obvious relationship to form. You want support from those networks.
Plus, they have that amazing centre up there.
The High Performance Centre?
Yeah.
Yep.
Not that we ever got to use it.
No, that's the reason we need to make headway. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I've actually been there before. I went there on
I can tell.
you work out.
younger, fitter days. I was actually on the first camp when they first opened it.
The little inverts off the trampolines?
This was before they had all the trampolines.
You're just inverting onto hard ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Splat!
Jumping off the roof.
Climb that ladder and then just jump. It's all about commitment.
Absolutely.
It's all about commitment.
Absolutely.
But look at, again, what was really good about and what we saw as being successful as a club was some of the development programs we had. Like we did a lot of kind of like coaching and development and training trips. Like one of my most memorable ones was because we did a couple of like long weekends. So it was I can't remember. I think it was kind of first in, best served. I don't think we handpicked people. It was just like, hey, we're getting a 24-seater bus. Who wants to come? So we'd just pick a spot and go. And we had this long weekend down at Ballina one time. It was amazing. We just camped. A couple of kids played up, but that's standard.
As you do.
But yeah, we just made sure that we brought down someone really good to create some media content. And this is before clubs were doing highlight reels and webcasts. Like it's crazy how much has come forward now.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to be able to have the kids go home with like a memento of a nice photo of them surfing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Gold Coast, as you know, it's like media central for surfing, right? There's almost as many photographers as there are surfers. But I'll be perfectly honest, a lot of those photographers, like unless they're getting something in return, they're not going to focus their lens on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's be honest, we've talked about this at length. Everyone loves a photo of themselves surfing.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that one in your bathroom, Shane, that's
it's good.
I was going to say that the 20-foot high Mark Britton poster in the office is pretty good of that 10-point ride.
So, obviously, you get the position with the ABA.
Yeah.
And I was sort of lucky to be on the ABA committee at that time, really just as I don't even know what my role was. It was very small. It certainly was not to the extent that you were. So you get onto that.
Yep.
And you start rolling forward with comps. Like how's that roll out?
Again, really fast paced.
Yep.
So the ABA came about. Nick Chandler, who's the CEO and owner of the ABA, reached out to me. I hadn't really known Nick that well through that time. Pardon me. Again, a really good friend of Mick Parkell's. Nick was involved with Sydney Bodyboard Club. And we just had conversations and kind of looked at what was currently happening. As everyone's aware, there was some pretty, I guess, not great things happening with the IBA, so the International Bodyboarding Association at the time. There were some money problems, but the way that it was structured is that, you know, you had the IBA at the top of that kind of pyramid and then all the subsidies that sat underneath it.
So there was proper pathways, pretty much regionally, that everyone could see, well, this is what I do here nationally, and then I can go on to hopefully the world tour.
But obviously the IBA lost its credibility. Trying to market all of those subsidies when you have a governing body that's not looking good, it was obviously going to be difficult. But in saying that, the guys that were running the IBAA were doing a really good job. But they were also kind of just trying to dig themselves out of a bit of a hole. So we just put a pitch to them. Essentially, it was just to get them to kind of change the name and rebrand it. But
and to give you guys, you know, authority to take over, basically.
Well, that wasn't really the intention in the beginning. It was more, we just want to provide you with some information. Yeah, we want to help and we want to get involved. Long story short, we pissed off some people. Like really pissed off some people. And there was, you know, hands thrown in the air and that kind of stuff. So, we kind of had free reign. So we launched the Australian Bodyboarding Association. So, and we set up some really good business structures. We set up some really good teams within the organisation. Was really important to us in the beginning to have buy-in from the riding community. So we had some riders representatives, which was really cool. And then, we obviously had, some good help from people within the industry to kind of push the backing side of things. We were lucky enough to take over a contract from Rebel Sport that was still lingering with the IBAA, which was great. So we had them for, I think, 2 years after that. But, Mick Parkell, and I know we talk about him a lot, but mate, he was instrumental in generating some of those relationships to help fund those events. And we just put together a tour plan and just made it happen. Again, I was,
So you were did you feel you're sort of thrown, you know, thrust into a position? Were you were ready for it?
Yeah, I was ready. Yeah. I mean, I probably had blinkers on. I didn't know anything different. And I was just thriving in that moment. I just wanted to keep doing it. Like, I love doing it. I love events. I love seeing events come to fruition and running well.
Favorite event?
Ooh. From what perspective?
Smooth, or, you know, good times, or?
I mean, the D-bar events were always good, first and foremost, because it's what I knew best. But also, it was consistent. Generally, we always got waves. But in saying that, I don't know, man. I actually can't pinpoint a single event. We ran some really good events at some really good locations with some really good people.
I heard on the Riptide podcast, shout out to Lukey and Nat and all the boys over there, when you said you were really disappointed about being pushed over to
here we go.
You know, the other side of the river there, you know, got pushed out of D-bar, which, you know, absolutely at the time, you know, felt like a real kick in the ball.
Yeah, can call a spade here.
However, I was fortunate enough to be up there for that event and really loved it, and it was really well done and went really smoothly. Probably the only thing that you missed out on was, you know, possible people, you know, sitting and watching.
We couldn't get bums on seats. I would say that was probably the beginning of the downfall between the relationship of Surfing Queensland and bodyboarding. I know for a fact that the guys up in Queensland still to this day are having constant headaches dealing with Surfing Queensland. And again, I'm not ashamed to say that. To me, I find it really disappointing because at the end of the day, bodyboarding makes up a pretty significant part of the membership base for Surfing Australia. So to have someone like Surfing Queensland, who are supposed to be like an equal opportunity non-for-profit organisation, to kind of, you know, turn their noses up at bodyboarding.
And has that wall always been there? Because, I mean, you're talking about, the the QAB.
No,
previously?
not always.
Yep.
No. There were some really, really good years. When Scott Gillies was the CEO at Surfing Queensland, incredible relationship.
Yeah.
And mate, we put on some amazing state title events. But then Scott left, fill in the blanks.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Fair enough. Now, there's always two words that are guaranteed to bring a smile to your face. Cook Islands.
Yeah, mate.
Now, I was lucky enough to go on a trip with you a long time ago.
2008
Was it
or 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You, me, Mick Parkhill, Lukey Shearer,
Your mate.
Stu.
Stewie. Yeah. Big Stew.
Did Brett go? No, Brett Howard?
No.
No.
He
It
went
was
on
just
a
the
late
four of
trip.
us.
Yep.
Yeah. And was that your first trip over there?
Yeah, mate. So that was my first taste of what I now call my second home.
Yep.
Probably at that time, the culture didn't really sink in. That came later.
Yeah.
But that was my first experience.
Like good times at that American bar and watching the
Chili's.
Yeah. That was a good time.
Yeah. I told you about Parkhill's right hook, right? No, look, that was my first experience on an overseas surf trip.
Okay. Yeah.
And obviously, I was pretty lucky. That was kind of a work incentive from Mick and Karina for all my hard work. And obviously, it was the same for Luke Shearer. Luke was running the Narrabeen store. So it was kind of I think it was a Christmas bonus or something like that. Yeah, Mick and Karina sent us to the Cooks. Mick came. Karina obviously stayed at home and manned the fort. poor woman. And just got a taste for it.
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot of time back there ever since.
So I remember you went for a second trip there with Mick after that.
So that was 2015. So there was a bit
that
of
was just a holiday.
That was a bit of a gap. But
So what was the decision then to move there and move and work there?
Yeah, so I met my wife in 2015, I think, early 2015. And I was kind of almost at the end of my tenure on the Gold Coast. I was quite burnt out. A lot of contributing factors to that. And I had thought I'd lined myself up like the dream job at a surf camp over in Mexico. And around the time of that planning, I met my wife, and she's Polish. She was in Australia studying. Her study visa was kind of coming to an end. We didn't know what was going to happen with us because we were pretty new in love at that stage, but she speaks Spanish as well. So I'd essentially teed her up with a job as well. So the plan was to go to Mexico. Long story short, I had a little bit of travel with some mates in the US and Canada first. My wife went back to Poland to see her family. She hadn't seen them in a couple of years. I went to Poland, met her family, all that stuff. Our bags are packed, ready to board a flight to Mexico. And then goes cold.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
The company that an Australian-based company, just wouldn't pick up the phone, wouldn't respond to emails. And I'm like, ooh,
what's going on?
this isn't good.
Yeah.
Called some good buddies of mine that kind of got me into that door.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
What's going on?
what's going on? He's like, don't know, man. I'm like, can't get onto them. And he's like, man, I spoke to them this morning. I was like, okay. So I did the old just call from a different number. Bang, pick up straight away.
Wow.
So essentially I'd been screened.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, Benny, Gill.
About that.
Yeah, about that. Things have changed. Essentially, the guy that was leaving, who I was going to take over, changed his mind, wanted to stay. And they were like, yeah, he's been with us for a bunch of years. So
Couldn't just ring and say that?
well, that's it.
Yeah.
I said that. It was in different time.
A few more expletives.
And he's like, oh, man, what if you go to like Costa Rica instead for 6 months? And I was like, okay, well, that sounds good. He's like, yeah, but you won't get paid and you got to pay your own flights. And it was in that moment, it was like I'm assuming you can figure out what I said. Cut ties with that business. Won't ever deal with them again.
Yeah.
But I'm also I'm a kind of guy that, shit happens, right?
Yep.
No point stewing on it. So just went back to the drawing board and we ended up picking up a summer contract in South Africa.
Right.
Yeah, so we went and managed a surf camp in South Africa. So for, I think it was like 3 months, and it was epic. Little place called Mzumbe, a couple of hours south of Durban. Incredibly fishy.
Big fishy.
Big fishy?
Yeah, big fishy.
Yeah. Actually, I remember you telling me a story about...
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've actually got 2 stories
Yep.
from the same stretch of beach. And it's quite funny. I feel like every town in South Africa has, like every beach town has something called Shark Bay. I don't know. I feel like they're just protecting.
Seems like a tourism attraction.
Right. Anyway, so I was just surf coaching every day. So just down on the beach, 40-degree days, just taking kids surfing. A lot of kids that didn't even know how to swim, which was really good learning experience. But one day I was out, and the beach, by the way, there is no way you could run a surf lesson in Australia at a beach like that. Like, honestly, similar to where we surf this morning.
Yeah.
Like, wow. But, that's just, they do things differently over there. So I actually didn't feel that confident being out in the water on a board when you've got a kid that can barely swim on a board. So I actually just had my bodyboard flippers on, and it was a lot easier to get to them if something went wrong. But crystal clear water, beautiful day, 2 foot offshore. And I'm just leaning on the rail of the board with little Timmy in between waves. We're talking about, what he's going to do next. And then the bump.
Oh,
Yeah.
the man in the grey suit.
Yeah, straight into my left hip. And I was just like, the fuck? You don't expect that stuff.
Yeah.
And the water's so clear. And then I turn around and I was like, oh, man.
Did you pull a Mick Fanning?
Bang. Maybe in my pants. But I guess...
He was in the man in the brown.
It's funny, like, I probably thought in that moment I was going to, just go into complete panic, right? But actually what came to my mind, I was like, wow, I've got a duty of care here.
Yeah.
I'm in a country that isn't my own. I know for a fact that business probably didn't have public liability. I don't think they probably had to. Probably doesn't exist. And I was just like, shit, I got to get little Timmy to the beach. So I was like, little Timmy, next wave.
Send him.
We're going. He's like, no. I'm like, next wave. Just push him, and then just got to the beach and told the lifeguards, and they were like, what do you want us to do about it? And I was like, oh, okay.
No one cares.
No one cares. But yeah, his mum asked for a partial refund because little Timmy didn't get a full surf lesson this day. But I just didn't tell her. But,
little Timmy still has his legs.
Yeah, you're welcome. But then a couple of days later, my wife and I, each afternoon, we'd walk, the people we worked for, we'd take their dog for a walk along the beach. And I kid you not, that scene you see in every National Geographic Shark Week episode of a great white breaching?
Yeah.
Like right out the front of the surf camp. And it's just like...
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm going out there tomorrow with little Timmy number 2.
Yeah. But, I guess to come back to your question, so we finished up a contract in South Africa. We actually just didn't know what we were going to do left. Like, I'd already kind of gotten a bit of strife with a visa in Europe because I'd overstayed by a couple of days and they weren't happy about that. So just randomly jumped on the internet, just looking at stuff. And then, there were some job opportunities available at a big hotel in the Cooks. And I was like, click.
Less sharks.
Yeah. There actually wasn't even a thought process into it. It's just like I told her.
I love that place. I want to go.
Yep.
Basically.
Anya knew I'd been. I'm like, I know people.
Yeah.
She knew people. She knew people from the Cooks. So, that was it. Like within about a week, getting back to Europe from South Africa, repacked our bags, and I think we had to come back to Australia first for visa reasons, whatever. But stopped in, saw mum and dad for 2 days, jumped on a plane, moved to the Cooks with nothing but a suitcase and a board bag.
Wow.
I think we're there for about 15 months. Essentially, just signed, again, short-term contract, but that was when I really, really fell in love with the place. It's a part of the South Pacific. The culture is quite similar to some of those other South Pacific groups like PNG, Samoa, Tahiti, whatnot. But I just got really drawn into it. I really got drawn into the people. I got drawn into the landscape. I'm really, really lucky. One of my close mates over there, his family own the airline. So, kind of got pretty lucky to jump on little little jets and check out other islands and stuff. But I mean, man, you've been there. Like, I don't even know where to start. The waves there they were designed for bodyboarding.
Yeah. And you got pretty involved with the bodyboard crew over there.
Yeah, and I'm still really involved. We got a couple of chat groups. I obviously wanted to help. Like, that's just what I do. So I kind of helped them run an event over there, which was really cool. They hadn't had an event in years. So I was lucky that I had some really good connections in Oz. One of them being you, and Benny Wells from Inverted. So conned you guys to ship me over some product for prizes. Got Park Hill to send over some infrastructure, so we had like a proper electric hooter system. I ran a judging course. I got Craig Haddon to kind of give me the all clear to do that, which was really cool. And we just ran this event at socials.
Yeah, wow.
And it was pumping.
Amazing.
It's like
That's
40,
sick.
yeah,
Not the worst place to have an event.
no, wow. But like, it was like 4 to 6 foot. I couldn't stay to the end because I had to go to work. But I think Kev Salam and Ahi Newby, who's from New Zealand, who was living over there at the time, were in the final. And it was mental, absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you leave there.
Yep.
After 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. 15 months, I think. Yeah.
And then what do you do then?
I think we went back to Europe. Yeah, we did. I should remember this because I got married.
Congratulations.
Kind of memorable.
So went to Europe with intention of staying there for I think 3 months again, because that's as much as an Aussie can spend in Europe. Even if you are married, doesn't really make a difference. And we've got same deal, just kind of keeping our finger on the pulse of work opportunities. And there's an opportunity to take over a luxury hiking lodge in Johanna. We got lucky. We got the job. So the crazy thing was, though, this was in August, so we're on our honeymoon, and they're like, when can you start? Our season kicks off in like 3 weeks. And I'm like, honeymoon. And they were like, can you be here next week? So I just had that conversation. Essentially we cut our honeymoon short, and I jumped on a plane, came home. I only stayed back in Poland for a couple more weeks, and then just got stuck into that for 5 years.
Yeah. But then you've come back to Vico.
Yep.
And it's great to have you back here.
Thanks, mate.
Absolutely.
And you've got involved with Bodyboard in Victoria.
Yeah, not in as much heavy workload sense as what Chris is, but
you don't live for tents like I do either.
You were pretty good on the microphone last
You
couple.
were. That was.
You're very good at handing out rash vests and telling us what to do.
I wasn't being bossy, was I?
No.
No. Look, I missed, obviously, the pandemic kind of stopped all input into kind of bodyboarding admin stuff. Obviously, the ABA had to cease. I had kind of nothing to do. And post-pandemic, Nick and I kind of made a decision that the ABA probably wasn't the best platform to continue running a national tour. But that's okay. I think there's some better ideas that I'm pretty certain we'll have implemented in 2024. But getting into bodyboarding, Vic, I think is really helping with creating that, I guess, platform to do some good things.
Yeah. So you mentioned 2024.
Next year.
So where do you see bodyboarding going in the future of that and competition and that? Not just Australia, but you guys asked me as well about international as well. Like, where do you see it going?
I think the common answer we've already discussed is that it has to work from grassroots. You can't build a house from the roof down. You got to start with the foundations. And I think the foundations are really strong, especially in Australia. I'm not sure what the kind of health is of grassroots in other countries, but I think the grassroots are really good. And obviously the Nationals is a really stable kind of event here in Australia that's run by Surfing Australia. The problem is it kind of doesn't mix in very well with what's next, because essentially there isn't that what's next.
In saying that, I know a little bit behind the scenes what's been talked about in that, but do you think we can build something here in Australia that can attract international?
Short answer, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were successful doing that with the ABA.
Yeah.
Like we had we had big name international riders coming to
from Japan.
Yeah. Mate, we had the hubs come over a couple of years in a row.
Tanner came over.
Yeah. So I don't see why we can't do that again. I think the most important thing to do in these events is, we need to make it worthwhile for the athletes. Yeah. And I mean, we want them to become athletes. We don't want them to just be a bodyboarder, on the side. So athletes, to become an athlete, it becomes a job. And when you work, you deserve to get paid.
Yeah.
So I guess what part of my vision is to find ways to reward those athletes. And the best way to do that through an event system is through prize money. Through prize money, like if someone starts kind of filling that pot, others will jump in. Well, I hope so. But yeah, I think what myself and a couple other guys are really working on at the moment is just budgeting for a series of events that are state-based, rather than being a national body that has to do all the legwork.
Yeah.
Having these really good structured state-based events that are really well funded locally, which is far easier to do than having a national entity come in and ask a local business for X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
So,
and say you need to be sanctioned and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
It's almost the way of the structure, and correct me if I'm wrong, but having the best bits of having a group or a committee that sort of deem the outline of it, but also the ability to access that local funding.
Absolutely.
And involve grassroots, the clubs, so they get beneficial, and you're building up their capability and also funding and whatnot as
exactly. There are some really, really great people back at that club level and in that grassroots, and when you do have a national entity, you generally don't get to utilize those people. So yeah, it's quite rewarding for them as well. Like you're giving them an opportunity to run a great project, and obviously all the fruits of that hard labor are then going back to them.
Yeah.
I guess what we do obviously still what we need to create though is that kind of pathway to success platform. Yep. So what we're working on at the moment is like essentially a point structure, but it will come from grassroots.
Yep.
What that's going to do, it's going to create some ripples in the beginning, because it's really important if we're going to run.
In what way do you think?
So what we want to reward the people that have worked hard through the event structure, right? So we want to reward people that have worked hard at club level, made it through states, made it to nationals. Again, that next step from nationals should be a tour.
Yep.
Right? Obviously in 2024, it's hard to create a seeding because we haven't had anything for a couple of years, right? So what we're suggesting is that we're probably going to have to design the seating based up on
clubland type of thing. Or
no, look, it's pretty like it's not that
like
hard.
Could you say, I'm just spitballing because I don't know any of the discussions you guys have got. So it's kind of good that I'm a blank slate when it comes to it. But it was like the 5 top guys from the opens of each club.
Well, we want to reward. We want to reward the people that are succeeding at nationals first and foremost.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
which they'd be automatically seeded anyway, but if they were the 5 top guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at are 2 divisions, opens and juniors.
Yeah.
The opens, there'll be 32. And yeah, obviously that 32 is made up of a seeding. We haven't kind of broken down the exact numbers, but we want to reward those that have been successful at nationals.
Yep.
For 2024, what we are going to use is some of the seedings from the last ABA tour as well, because we think those people deserve an opportunity to continue where they left off.
Yeah.
Perfect example is Lockie, right? 3-peat ABA tour champion. Like, he worked his ass off to get that.
Yeah.
He deserves another chance to back it up.
Yeah.
So, for example, we might break down top 10 from ABA, top 10 from nationals, top 10, another 10 made up of other qualifications. So whether that's through like trials events that lead up to these, and what we've discussed is tying in like the state title events with each of the the mainstream events. So your winners from your state tile are getting almost like a wild card straight in. So you're rewarding that grassroots.
Yeah.
Obviously, you do need
and essentially, it wipes the past, but also means that sort of pro guys right now need to go and compete at nationals or compete at state level.
Well, that is exactly the point.
Yep. Yeah.
But that was also,
if they want to be seated and get back on some sort of
that's where I think we're gonna run into trouble. Like we know for a fact, whatever we do, you're not going to please everyone.
Yeah.
But in saying that, it'd be great to see see people putting time and effort into those grassroots as well, and that'll help build those clubs as well. So there's method to the madness as such, but I think it's creating a more inclusive and sort of a structure that there hasn't been for quite some time.
And look, it was part of what we, part of our KPIs for the ABA. Like, we always strive to create that pathway to success through competitive bodyboarding. We just couldn't get it to work because of the way the business was set up. I'm not saying it was money driven, but we obviously had to.
You got to cover costs.
We had to cover costs. So we did get to a point where it's like, okay, well, anyone can enter. Anyone can have a shot at the title. That's what we're trying to remove.
Yeah.
We want to reward development. So, really excited. Like I said, we've got some really good people in each state working hard together to create a plan, which, hopefully in a few weeks we'll be able to,
start announcing.
Yeah, well, depending on when this podcast comes out, might be old news.
Might have already happened.
Yeah. So to start winding up, we'll go to our quick fire questions round.
Oh, yep.
Are you ready for this? Get excited. Bring the energy.
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Favourite band?
Blink 182.
Oh!
Yeah.
They're coming out too, aren't they?
Super excited. Got tickets for Melbourne.
Really?
Yep.
Do you know how concerning it was when I put on Gold 104 the other day and Blink 182 were playing?
Gold 104. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Gold 104. Travis is on the plane. Is it Travis?
Yep.
He's the drummer on the plane. Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Yeah. Thought he didn't like planes, but there you go. We'll move on. Favourite film?
Gleaming the Cube.
Oh, that's kicking it old school.
You've seen it?
I don't know if I have.
Christian Slater.
Yep. Skating. Yeah, I know the film.
Tony Hawk featured in it too.
He did, yeah.
It's kind of like the skateboarding's version of Point Break.
I think my friend Robert Porteous, that might be one of his favourite films back then. He was a full skater. So, favourite car?
I'll be honest, the one I got now.
The Hilux.
Yeah.
That was my dream car at 16. It was the
Hilux
at 16.
I still have a pretty big
practicality of it now. Nah.
I still have a very big soft spot for 80s Toyota Hiluxes.
Yeah.
It's one thing that'll end up in my garage at some stage. I just collect cars for the sake of collecting cars.
Yeah.
Mate, I don't own a Hilux because I'm into four-wheel driving. That's not the reason. Again, it's a practical choice.
That's a status thing for you, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm
like all these blokes cruising around their Land Cruisers.
Yeah, I'm compensating for something else.
Yeah.
Mate, I live in the
I reckon.
I live in the Otway State Park. A lot of the roads aren't sealed.
Yep.
And one of the waves that is my favourite wave down there isn't very easy access.
I know, so you didn't show me that one when I came down. But we'll move on.
It's the secret.
Yeah.
Swan of secrecy.
Favourite TV show?
I don't watch a lot of TV.
All those hours you got just whittle away.
Probably the most recent TV show that I've watched, and watched it pretty religiously with my wife. I think we're waiting for the new seasons to come out, is Yellowstone.
I thought you were going to say Love Island for a second.
I thought it was Farmer Wants a Wife.
An old school buddy of mine was on that once.
Which one?
On Farmer Wants a Wife.
Really?
Yeah. His name was Tom.
How'd he go?
Got married.
Did he?
Yeah.
Are they still together?
Success story.
You don't know? Oh, okay.
No.
Close friend. Favourite bodyboarding film?
Too many to list. I was a big fan of the Tension series.
Yep.
I don't know. They were just they were really relatable to me at that time of my life.
Right age.
Yep. And again, being on the East Coast, a lot of that, a lot of the Australian stuff in the tension films were from the West Coast.
Yep.
So yeah, watching that stuff was pretty amazing, and I'm a big fan of some of those guys from WA, like Husey, Sean Virtue, Chris White.
You've still got that Winnie cutout in your room, haven't you?
The Winnie cutout. The white Beyonce. Yeah, on probably outside of the tension series. Yeah, my favourite cinematic bodyboarding movie, and I think it. There's nothing that's ever come close to it. Is 6 Months.
Oh,
Yep.
Nice.
What I really like about films is the storytelling. I don't think bodyboarding has hit that mark a lot. There hasn't been that many that tell a good story. Like Kingy's first Joker, that was a really good film from a story perspective. The second one was a bit of a take the piss, but that's Kingy. But yeah, Ewan is incredibly underrated.
Absolutely.
But yeah, by far one of the most technical and talented bodyboarders I've seen with my own two eyes. And I mean, for him to put so much time, energy, and money into that project, it paid off.
Yeah, we had a good relationship at that time, and he was all in on that one.
Yeah, so that's probably sitting up on the top shelf for me.
Yep, absolutely. Favorite bodyboard section.
Tough one.
It'd have to be that footage you just gave to Jennings to edit for the Bodyboarding Vic Urban Surf Reel. Shout out to Jennings for alluding to Mr. Oborne to clean his lens.
Far out, yeah.
Filmed and edited. Oh, no, just filmed by.
Yeah, we had to change that, didn't we?
Yeah.
I'll probably... I don't know. Probably some of the early Cloud9 stuff from Tension.
Oh, yeah.
Again, that's Cloud9's one of those on my bucket lists of places to surf.
Yeah.
And saying that, from what I understand, it's one of the most crowded waves in that part of the world these days. So you're not going to get it like you used to.
Yeah.
But that look at that wave. It's a skate park, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Barrels to bowls.
Lucky's favourite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's always going right, though, isn't he?
He loves it. So, have you ever been mistaken for someone famous?
For two different people, and I can't see the resemblance to either of them. The first time was when I was 19. I was living in Geelong, and I was at a bar called Nash. And I don't know, I think we'd been to someone's birthday, so we were wearing suits, looking pretty flash. And this, I thought she was a middle-aged woman at the time. She was probably 30. I thought I was Rove McManus.
Really?
Wow.
Yep.
Rove McManus. I cannot see
What the?
anything.
No, yeah. So...
Did you run with it?
Yes, 100% I ran with it, and I had a fantastic night.
Okay.
Yeah. The second one, well, again, I haven't been kind of mistaken for anyone of the last 6 years because I live in a national park, but the last few years I was living on the Goldie, a lot of people thought I was Cooper Cronk, the rugby player.
Oh.
Yeah, but I mean, my nose is straight, his is really bent. So.
Plus he's in Melbourne. And...
Yeah, anyway, don't know.
Fair enough. First board.
First ever board was like a polystyrene, one of those kind of, wrapped in like...
Oh, the Hessian baggy.
Hessian bag.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't even call it a slick because it wasn't a slick. Blue bottom, yellow top with funky shapes on it and a straight leash.
Came out $10.
Oh, look,
That's the new Benny Oborne pro model.
Signature.
Second board, there was a brand called Hydra. That was kind of like a spin-off Hydro.
Yes.
Same deal.
Yep.
Shit boards. I think their logo was like 3 dragon heads or something.
Yep.
That's still in my mum and dad's shed. Again, every Christmas I asked for a bodyboard. And every Christmas my mum did not get me the bodyboard that I ever wanted. So I just had to deal with it.
Are you still asking her these days?
No. My first ever board with a slick was like a body glove.
Ooh.
Right.
Yeah, 40.
Oh, those Not the cheapy rubber ones with the slicks.
No. It was genuine PE board.
Okay.
No stringer.
Yep.
Probably HDPE. Can't imagine it was Sterling, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because they made a lot of those rubber ones with the slick sort of on it as well.
Like the tuners.
Yeah, tuners.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't like that. No.
Right.
Yeah.
That would have had the structural integrity of a wet piece of bread too, wouldn't it?
Yes. yes. Had some cool stickers on that board though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Held it together.
Yeah, maybe. I think I had a no fear sticker.
Oh, yes.
Oh, the no fear. Yeah.
I had a friend that I don't know through bodyboarding, completely separate. He one day said to me, he's like, "Oh, I've got a bodyboard at home. Do you want it?" And it was a replica of my first bodyboard, the Rio Pipo Ben Holland Square Tail.
Wow.
But it was in my size now. And it was in like 42, and it even came with like the guy roll leash from that era, and it's got like the No Fear Town and Country, and it's got the Rip Kill stickers on it. Like it is proper legit 1997.
Bodyboards t-shirt that I picked up from Hawaii when I was like, I must have been 18, 19.
That's epic.
Yeah. That was my favourite stuff, all the t-shirts.
Yeah.
Right into the t-shirts.
Yeah, we just don't have that market anymore, do we?
No, it's dropped off a little bit.
Yeah.
But favourite wave?
Oh, that's a no-brainer. Well, just Cooks.
Yep.
Either Socials or Rutaki.
Nice.
Definitely not Papua.
Okay.
Nope.
Favourite surf trip?
Cooks.
Favourite move? Cooks.
Oh, mate, look, I'm not a technical rider like you, Shano.
You can't get barreled.
Well, yeah, if...
Have you started on Barrel Dodgers Anonymous?
No. Well, yeah, if, like, that's what I'm craving when I go surfing. I want to get barreled.
Yeah.
If I'm not getting barreled, my kind of go-to combo, high line, like top to bottom, kind of carve to reverse, and then finish with a roll.
Look at you go.
Comp
Legs
surfer.
crossed.
Unlike a friend of ours. Name's quiet. Now, I think I know the answer to this one. Favourite board?
Yeah, well, we talked about it before, didn't we?
We did. We talked about it last night, in fact.
So, to me, yeah, kind of favourite boards is just the ones that create the best memories and more so the most waves that I've surfed on it. So it's kind of an equal tie. One of them I actually rode this morning.
Yep.
Which I've had for 10 years. And it is still as stiff as a board. It's got a few, bruises, which is a QCD team spec board when you were distributing them.
Yep.
Yeah, with a big BSC team stamp on them. That's as close as I got to being a team rider, I think. And which is a 41, but if you measure it nose to tail, mate, it's a bit smaller than a 41. You need to get that checked out.
Speak to Todd about that. I didn't handle dimensions.
And the second board was a Custom X team spec.
Yep.
Same deal, 41, but yeah, looked about an inch bigger than the other 41.
Right.
Both boards, the team spec travelled with me to quite a few other places, but yeah, the team spec still in someone's shed in the Cooks. But yeah, have favourite boards.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Benny. It's been very insightful and always great to chat to you, buddy.
Thanks, boys. Really appreciate spending more time with you.
Yeah, we really enjoyed having you on here. So a few thank yous for crew that make this potty happen. We've got Sam Watson for production. We've got Michael Jennings for tech support and Rob Porteous and remote for music. And we will have another podcast for you soon when we can all get together again.
Now let's go fucking bodyboarding.
Thanks, guys.